Hello everyone, this is Christian Melon Interactive, and in this video we are going to set up an very simple Express server and configure it so that we are able to use hot module replacement with the Webpack configuration that we created in the previous video. So just to see where we're going to end up here, we'll have this. So we have the page running over here. This is our index.html page. Is HMR working? And of course it is. Save. And it's updated here. So is HMR, we got it updated. Move over to our site.scss, change our background color to red. Save that. That's updating. We could have seen that all running in our console as usual. So it's a long enough video, so I'm going to stop talking. We're going to get to it. Alright, let's go ahead and get started here. So of course what we want to do in this video is to set up a really simple Express server and get that running so that we can use hot module replacement. So let's go ahead and install a couple of packages here. So what I need to be is in the project directory here, and I've already done it, but so you can see it on the screen here, what we're going to do is install Express and this OPN package, which we'll just use to open up the default web browser. And of course, as you can see here, I'm sticking with a theme here since I'm not running it as a ASP.NET application. We're just going to use Visual Studio Code for today. So if I hit enter there, we'll install our packages and we can move on. While I was doing that, what I want to do is to create a folder here, or a file here, and I'm just going to name it server.dev.js. Alright, so now we want to basically just get an Express server up and running. So let me copy in some code here. So we're going to require Express, the OPN package, and I'm just going to define a constant up here for the localhost port. And so what we want then, alright, so my little Express section here, we're going to set up an app here. Why do I have an app without any or anything? What's going on? We'll say let app equal Express. Then we're going to use, forgot to mention here is I'm not a Node web developer, so this is the bare bones as it's going to get. I even had to look up how you serve static files using Express. So all we're going to do, like I just mentioned here, we're going to serve up our static HTML or index.html page. So we have app, serve up the static pages. We'll have the router. When we go to the root route, we're going to, like I said, render that index page, and we're going to then listen on the localhost port, which is a 3000. Get our console message. Open is then going to open the browser into that page. So we have the server page here, and one thing I forgot to mention. So if we go into our package.json file, what we want is a way to start that server. So we're just going to copy this over here into our scripts section. So we'll have the command express:dev, and that will run node server.dev.js. Save that. Back to our console, we'll say npm run express dev:dev. We'll do that, and let's move this over here. So now we're serving our index.html using the Express server and localhost 3000. All right, so we're good to go there. So many things open. All right, so now we begin the process of installing or getting the hot module replacement running. I'm going to stop the console. Let's stop the server. And what we need to do is install a couple other npm packages. So I'm installing the Webpack dev middleware and the Webpack hot middleware. So go ahead and hit enter on that. We can close this. And we'll get those while that's running, we're going to go up here and add some more stuff. So we need to require a few things here. Oop. What are you doing? So we're requiring in Webpack, the Webpack dev middleware, Webpack hot middleware, and we're pulling in our config file that we made in the previous video. Might as well have this thing open to look at as we go. So what we have here in the entry point in our webpack.config file is an object, and the keys here lead us to an array. We have one entry, so it's an array of a couple strings. So what we need is to add a couple things to our entry. All right, and we'll add an entry for server and client, and it'll lead us to this webpack/hot/dev-server for the server, and webpack-hot.middleware/client for the client. All right. Now what we do also need, if we look back at the Webpack config, we'll have, after all this jazz, we have the output, and of course the output is designed to spit out files into our www.root/js folder, and of course extract text plugin is taking care of extracting it to the CSS folder. Well, we're not interested in having files output. What we want is to send the information to the server in memory, basically. So what we're going to do is modify our output object. So we'll take the config, and then we'll change the output. And output we're going to render to it'll have a path, the root path, the public path. I'm going to keep the same, directory structure there. This could be whatever you want it to be. Of course, you have to update the index.html, which we're going to do shortly here. And the file name that we're going to spit out is the bundle.js. You'll see kind of why in a minute. Let's see. And then inside of Express, we need to do the Express area, we need to do a couple of things. Not sure where I did it before. I don't think that it necessarily matters. Let's just put them up here. So what we need is to use this middleware, and I actually need to define something before I mess something up. How am I making it let? Let's make it constant. And then, we need to define the compiler. So the middleware for both the Webpack dev middleware and the Webpack hot middleware both require this compiler. The compiler is just Webpack operating on our configuration. Go ahead and save that. And what we then want is, like I said, we'll have to modify index.html here real quick. I did forget that if you go to the webpack.config.js and we look at this optimization, in principle we should be spitting out this common bundle, and that's, as the name suggests, is common to all of our chunks. So I should have had another script tag up here to begin with, which would have been common.bundle.js. One thing that we need to modify here is that we are spitting out this file in the server.dev we want this bundle.js, and if you want, you could try and keep that. If I make this, and I haven't, maybe there's another way around this, but if I make that main.bundle.js, then it wants a common.main.bundle.js. So there's really no way around, or I haven't thought up a way really to deal with the fact that this is different. I normally do not render static HTML. Sure, most people that use Node or Express here also do not render static HTML. You can use Jade or something. I'm sure I have access, probably some extension will give me access to the environment somehow where I could say whether this is development or not. So if it's development, use this. If it's production, use that. So in this case, what I'm just going to do, should have gone ahead and paste that. We'll just comment this stuff out and make this a main.bundle.js. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we have here. If we run our server again, where is it at? All right, so now we have an error here. So it's obviously it's fairly self-explanatory, I think, is like I said, the way that I have designed the webpack.config, the output or the entry point is an object, and the keys lead to the files that are contained within a particular bundle. So as an example here, where is it at? So working on a project now, instead of just having the little one here, let's go down to the bottom here. So typically I have an entry point, which, in this case, the project I'm working on has a main, which has a main.site.ts and a site.scss. So it's an array there. And then that, those things create the bundles for the main. And then I have separate sections on here in this particular project. It's an ASP.NET Core project. And so I navigate to a page, say /charting, and then this main or charting examples module gets run. It's an Angular module, so that then bootstraps it, and from there it's a single page application. So this is the reason why I usually use an object. What we need to have though is just an array of strings, not an object. So if you're creating a single page application, just a straight on single page application, then if we go back to the webpack.config.js, the entry point here might as well just be an array of strings, and you wouldn't have a problem at this point. So the first thing, or the first attempt at fixing this, we're going to make is to modify, instead of changing the entry object in the webpack.config, we're going to change it within the our server dev file here. First thing I'm going to do is create an entry array, and I'm going to import or include those two, the dev server and client files, just to start with. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to do is bring in an if statement, just because, why not? So if the config.entry object itself is an array, then why am I going to blow up this? See, look at these errors going on here. What we want, then we could do like config.entry.forEach. That is the array, leave me alone. Element, then we'd have entry array dot push and element. So look at that. I'll have to fix that. Oh, and I don't want that statement there. So we have our entry array. Oh, config. So we have config.entry.forEach element, and we'll push those elements into the entry array. Okay, fine. So we want our else statement here. And I'm just going to copy it in before I make some other mistakes here. So what we're going to say is that we'll take all of the properties within the config.entry object, and if it's its own property, then we're going to come down here. We're going to take it out. If it's an array, we're just going to iterate over each of them. If it's an object itself, then or if it's a string, we'll deal with that. And then I'm just saying down here, we're either expecting a string or an array. You can obviously modify this to be whatever you need it to be. Okay, and then the last thing that we need to do then is to say config entry equals our entry array. So get rid of that. We'll save that. Go back to our console. What do we have running? Let's go ahead and run the server again, and it keeps appearing off the screen. There are like 3 versions of these things going out. So let's take a look at our console. So we're getting there. We've moved on from one error to the next. So hot module replacement is disabled. Let's make it bigger. So hot module replacement is disabled. Wish that could be a little more, descriptive for us, but okay. Let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. Close that. Stop that server. All right. So that thing is telling us it's disabled because we also have to include another plugin. Now, like I said, I don't want to modify the webpack.config. Or actually, we'll do it here at the end for something, but not for this. And especially this because we're going to add in a plugin, and that plugin is just related to hot module replacement. So we would only need it in this dev server file. So we're going to get this HMR plugin from webpack.hotmodule replacement plugin. First thing that we're going to do is to say, okay, if the config.plugins is undefined or null, then there aren't any plugins. We'll just create an array for plugins and just put the HMR plugin in it and then be done with it. If, on the other hand, like we have in our case, there are plugins, what we're going to do is just look through all the plugins, see if we find the HMR plugin by checking for the constructor name. If it's not found, we're going to add it in. Let's save that. Go back here. Once again, start our server up. Somehow, some way, I was just kind of hoping. I was going to set these over here and it's going to go, oh, let me append it to there. So no, not the case. Bring it over here. We have everything. We got our hello world back. We have HMR saying it's connected. We should, now we're happy and ready to go to lunch because everything's working. Let's check that everything is working here. What we'll do is to go into our source file. We'll go to the main.ts file. Change our hello world here and give us some more exclamation points. And once again, things are not quite working as we expected. So it's telling us that it ignored an update to an unaccepted module. Just to see if we hit refresh, everything's, we've got the multiple exclamation points. We get rid of them again, save it. We can see this ignored. And the reason that's happening is because hot module replacement is opt-in by the module, and we have not opted in. So let's go back to here. We're going to modify our main.site.ts file. All right, so let's scroll down here. Whoops, first off, on my console back. What we want to make our lives a little bit easier is to install a typings file, and that's the types webpack-env. So that gives us the Webpack module API definitions. Go ahead and install those. So now we're ready to go into our main.site.ts file. And what we're going to do here is to modify this. So we're saying that if module.hot is defined, we want to say module.hot accept. So now we've opted into hot module replacement. To make this operate the way that we are expecting it to operate, we're going to be a little bit smarter about the appending that's going on here. So we're going to just go ahead and modify this while I'm at it. So right now I'm just appending to the body. So what we're going to do now is just create a cleverly called app, create the div, add class to it, and then add that child to it, blah blah blah, append. And of course the reason for that is that if hot module replacement is done, we're back here, we're appending something, or we want to modify something. So we'll get the old app, we'll remove it, and then we'll add it back in. Save that. Back to running the server. Pull it back over here. Do a whole splitty. So we'll see here. So now when I pasted that in, I actually had changed the message. So it used to be hello world, now I'm saying of course it does. I previously have changed it to does this work, but we'll skip that part. So now we have the of course it does. We'll throw our extra exclamation points on there and we get our extra exclamation points. We see the main.site.ts was updated. Check what that undefined one is. So now we're thinking, okay, everything's working fine. And now we can go to lunch. But if we go back into, let's take a look at main.site.scss. Let's change this background color. I don't know why. No, let's make it something so it's easy to tell on the screen. Save that. Looks like something happened. Rebuild some, nothing. But we got this nothing hot updated. If we refresh, we don't even get anything. Last thing here. All right, back to Visual Studio or code, and this is where we have to modify our webpack.config file. And I do have this. So when I first did that Webpack quick start video, I run through I was basically updating an old Webpack config to run on Webpack 4, and I ran into that problem with the extract text plugin. Search around. Oh look, they have a updated version. It's in like either beta or release candidate, I don't know, but we had to use the next branch to get it to work. And this is a case in which I actually had read the manual, the documentation here. We would have seen something. So moment of shame. If we come back over here, this is the GitHub page for the extract text Webpack plugin. So we scroll down here and we get down here and we get to this little thing, little exclamation point, our little warning there. Since Webpack 4, the extract text Webpack plugin should not be used for CSS. Use this thing over here. And of course, this is exactly what I'm using the extract text plugin for. So we are going to then add this thing in here and use it instead. So this is the mini CSS extract plugin, and we have some usage down here, and we'll get it. We'll use it now. So let's stop our server here. Go ahead and install it. And we'll get that going. What we need, let's close some of this stuff so get a notion of what I'm doing. So we need to modify our webpack.config. Actually, while I'm at it, I'm going to remove all evidence of my shame of we're going to uninstall the extract text Webpack plugin. So of course at the top here we have this reference to it. What we need to do is now use the mini CSS plugin. Stop hitting the wrong buttons. Oops. So let's get rid of this. So So we come down here to our tests. So when we come down to the test, we have the site.scss. This is where we want to use the extract text plugin. So what we're going to do is change that. And this is basically just following what they told us to in the documentation. Same test, same blah 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 is going on in here. So if its environment is development, we're going to just use the style loader and, you know, skip using the CSS extract text plugin, and it does the rest of the deal there. Alright, so now we come down here. We need to modify the plugin section. So we have a plugin, so the extract text plugin. We're going to modify this bad boy here. And what we'll do then is just pull out, if it's in development, we're going to create the bundle. So it's just going to be name.css and save that. All right, now we cross our fingers once again, start up our server. Perfect. Do our thing again here. Come on over here. Of course, did in the opposite direction, but whatever. So let's change that. We'll take out the main.site. Well, let's do both, just to be sure. So we'll just modify this. So there we are. JavaScript is updating. Let's change this. Save that. And our CSS is now being installed. Could have had them open up here. We have all of our module replacement telling us everything's working correctly, and that is now done. Alright, so I kind of started going into it, but I wanted to make it even more obvious here. If we go back into the server.dev.js file, of course what I did here again was just sort of a temporary thing to get everything to start working. In my particular cases, doing this with the entry object would break things, because then I would have, like I said, usually I have multiple pages, and if you go to one page, it starts up one Angular application. If you go to another page, it starts up another Angular application. So if I go and just concatenate all of the modules together, it's going to then try to bootstrap each module on every page, and it's just going to break everything. So we have to be, would have to be a bit smarter on this. Like I said, I am not a Node web application developer, but I'm going to think that since we have access to this, we should be able to do something a little bit better about creating the compiler, which here's our stopping point. But I'll think on that, do a little thing. If I can figure something out, may make a video here. Otherwise, I'm sure that you guys can work on a fix for this too. If you're a Node web application developer, you can come up with a solution. But for now, that takes care of it, because we have Express running and we have hot module replacement working for both our JavaScript and our CSS. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I know that your time is valuable. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up button, as well as share the video with your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. And once again, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next video.